Hi, and welcome to another episode of Moving Mountains. I'm Dr. Lance Knaub, and I'm here today with Ty Martin, Managing Partner of McCann Commercial Real Estate, which is affiliated with Keller Williams, right? So, Ty, so good to see you, man. I mean, we were connected recently, but you helped me realize that we had connected a couple years ago during the pandemic.
Yep.
So, and more recently, you guys have done a great job of helping me, look at some commercial real estate and do all the things.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate that.
Excited. So for everybody that doesn't know you, tell us your story, your backstory, and how you've, arrived as, the managing partner of a commercial real estate company.
Yeah, so it's funny. I kind of came into this by accident. I was working a great corporate job out of college, the kind of job you would dream about when you start in school. I was working there and I was traveling a lot for work, and through that time and seeing a bunch of different cities, I started getting more interested just in the massive real estate that I would see when I would go to Chicago or I would go to Detroit. I covered a lot of the Midwest at that job. And I started looking into the industry a little bit. And I noticed that commercial real estate, unlike residential real estate, is way more numbers driven, way less emotional, and more, I guess, tying into what I was doing at my former job. And I started to just kind of look around at the local opportunities. I cold called a few local firms here and just kind of started asking some questions. And what I realized is, for any of these firms, if you were a young, hungry person, it would make a lot of sense for them to, come chat with you or you come chat with them and talk about the career, because it's a low risk for a firm, but a high reward if you end up panning out. Okay. So that's kind of how I fell into it. I started working at a local firm and then ended up kind of moving into my own shop.
Yeah, so how long has it been that you've been on your own then?
So I've been on my own for 3 years. I just celebrated my 5th anniversary doing this. Thank you.
Very nice.
It was January of 2019, so I've kind of seen it all in 5 years.
Yeah, 5 years is a big milestone.
It feels good. I mean, honestly, I remember the first year saying, all right, well, when I get to 5 years, how different will it look?
Yeah.
And it does look different in a lot of different ways. I think the first piece is I finally understand this business a little bit more now.
Okay.
And I say a little bit more because no one's a master, even if you've been doing it for 50 years.
Sure. Time has no correlation with expertise, in my opinion.
No way. Yeah, I completely agree. And with that piece, the other part of it is I understand now how to sell more comfortably. I think at first I was trying too hard.
Okay.
So for me, as I go through this path of commercial real estate, sales, business in general, I've learned that the less you try to sell, the more comes your way. Okay. And that's been a pretty interesting piece.
Okay. I mean, do you find, for me in physical therapy, like healthcare, we all have the Peace Corps gene. So I coached our people to think of, to really avoid the word selling and just help people get what they need. So I don't know how you coach your team, when you say you're really strong at sales, how do you guys look at it?
I think it's exactly that. So before it was so much, when you start a new gig, it's like, all right, well, how am I going to succeed, right? Yeah. Especially, it's scary. Commission only, jumping in. At the time, I was 22, 23. It was pretty terrifying. Right. I was worried a lot about me.
Of course.
And now I've realized that the more I've worried about the goal at the end of the road, it's easier to get there. And more clients or potential leads are happy to chat with you about what they need, and then you just take it from there.
Yeah. It's almost like the Zig Ziglar quote, right? The more you help people get what they want, the more you get what you want.
Completely.
Yeah. So I know commercial real estate is very competitive. Tell us about who you serve, who your ideal clients are, and how you differentiate yourself in a tough market.
Sure. So our team handles every aspect of commercial real estate. We have guys and gals on our team that are focused in the multifamily investment sales piece. Some focused in industrial, retail. I personally stay in the office space, primarily representing tenants, because I found that, just like we were just talking about, that's kind of the angle where you can team up. You act almost as a hired teammate who doesn't invoice the client and help them to find their office space that they need, their dream. So for me, a law firm, an accounting firm, an architecture firm, someone that needs office space and they're interested in doing something exciting. And obviously any space is great, but I've worked on some really cool deals.
Yeah, because it's a whole new world, right? With many businesses not using as much office space. Yep. So how does that play into everything, right? What's the current dynamic? And So some of your ideal clients, accountants, architects, law firms,
Yep.
are really certain size. You know, how many?
The bigger the better. I'm happy to help anyone, right? I
Yeah.
think that the more you go up square footage wise, usually you're able to do some cooler, pieces to the deal, I guess you could say, can get a little bit more exciting, right? Because the bigger the build out, the bigger the space, you're probably dealing with some conference rooms, you're dealing with some other amenities and aspects that maybe a smaller space wouldn't have, but really any size I'm happy to work with. But the current scope of the office world is very interesting because you're seeing the highly amenitized buildings, the trophy buildings, the Class A buildings.
Yeah.
They're doing just fine in many markets.
Okay.
In some markets, they can't build it fast enough. I mean, you look down in South Florida, the trophy and Class A buildings are very full.
Okay.
Philadelphia, you're seeing that, a lot of the trophy and Class A buildings are doing better than you'd expect. Some of those other less amenitized or lower class buildings, they either need to really rebrand and rebuild these buildings back to what they could have been or what they were maybe 40, 50 years ago when they first went up, or they're struggling a little bit more to fill.
Okay. Very cool. So how big is your team right now, and how many different segments do you serve? You said multifamily.
Yep, so we really handle every aspect, every asset type. I mean, anything from an MOB, a medical building, to a traditional office, retail, industrial, multifamily, every aspect of commercial real estate. We are 16 brokers strong. That's throughout Philadelphia, New Jersey, Eastern North Carolina, South Florida, Houston, Texas, and then we're about to launch in Boston.
Oh, congrats. And what's your role in the organization right now?
Player coach, I would say. So
Totally.
Managing partner, it's funny because that is it can be a great term because sure, I'm managing a bit, but I really feel like a lot of the time I'm just another one of the brokers. And I am. I mean, I transact in the business every day. It's usually the before 8 a.m. or the after 6 p.m. time that I really get to focus on working on the business.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you use that word on because that's what I was thinking. Player coach is probably a nice way to say it, but really working in the business and on the business together is very challenging.
It is.
Because as your business grows, right, you have to make sure that Michael Gerber is the one who coined that term, and you really have to make sure that you are getting enough on the business work.
So true.
Yeah.
It ends up getting, pushed. I don't want to say pushed, but it ends up happening more on weekends, and I'm okay with that because for me, when I'm transacting, that feels like I'm working, right? Which is part of what I really love about this business. I love the work. I love the hustle. I love just being in the deals.
Yeah.
It's the outside of those deals and transacting where the growth of the business and working on the business, it never feels like work. It feels like I'm painting a picture, and I can't paint anything, but it feels like I'm painting the future of my career, my guys and gals' careers. Like, for me, it's just so exciting to know that I'm planning something on a Saturday for the business that I'm going to present on Monday and get instant feedback on. And if they love it, then we put it into play.
Well, so I love hearing that it's exciting for you. This is a question that I usually ask after our break, but I'm going to do it now instead because you're right here. Like, how do you stay healthy and avoid burnout for yourself, even and your teammates, with all this growth of the company and you being a player coach?
Yep.
And and admittedly, right, doing a lot of weekend, evening work.
No doubt. I think well, first and foremost, and this is probably what a lot of people say, I love my team. I truly work with. It wasn't supposed to go like this, and it ended up working like this. I work with my 3 closest friends.
Okay.
All 3 of them, one being Steve. Steve was in school. I used to coach him in lacrosse. He's 6 or 7 years younger than me. And as he grew up and as he was going the whole finance route in school, I said, hey man, I think there's really a future for you in commercial real estate. So Steve is like my little brother and my closest buddy rolled into the business. And then my 2 other closest friends, one from college and one from growing up, my right-hand man, are now running my South Florida and North Carolina division. So I can say that I truly work with the people that I'm closest with, and that's exciting.
Yeah.
But even if that wasn't the case, and there's some people that I met along the way who joined the team, I think that the people are really the reason that I keep going with such energy because we're growing something that I want to see everyone win in, and they're loving it, and they're working hard, and they're giving input, so it makes it easy.
Yeah. So with this, like avoiding burnout, how much sleep do you get right now? And we know you have a lacrosse background.
Yep.
Are you still exercising? And mentally, how do you stay, charged?
Totally.
What mindset work do you do?
So I wake up at 4 a.m., which
Okay.
a lot of people say you're nuts.
Yeah.
I actually I started a little broadcast channel where I post everything about my day so people see it. Because a lot of people say
That's
these
an
things.
accountability tool, yeah. that's
100%.
great. Yeah.
Wake up at 4, in the gym at 4:15, out by 5:40 or so, try to.
Yeah.
Leave the house by 6:25, at my desk by 7 in Philly, in the office.
Okay.
7 to 8, I'm right into working on the business. But anyway, to go back before I go into that,
Yeah.
I get about 6 hours of sleep.
Okay.
At first, that was really hard for me, but those 6 hours now, because of my nightly routine, are so perfect. And what I mean is, I don't wake up, I don't toss and turn, I fall asleep quickly, and I feel rested in the morning. And I drank a coffee before coming on tonight, but generally speaking, my caffeine stops at like 7, 8 a.m.
Right.
And then it's just a little bit of decaf coffee. I love coffee, but I don't need anything to keep me going. It's just, I'm well rested. I wake up and I get after it in the gym right away, and it carries me really the rest of the day.
Yeah. And how about mindset, mental health? What do you do for?
I love reading, like you. I know you're big into reading.
Yeah.
The other thing, honestly, for me is I speak about what's on my mind to my fiance, to my parents, to my team, and I feel like if something's up here that maybe I'm not feeling so great about, I just verbalize it, and that immediately, it's released, and that helps me kind of just, I guess, face it. If it's something I need to change, then great, I'll change it. If it's something in my life that maybe, someone else is making me feel a type of way, or something about my I guess setting needs to change, then I'll actively do what I have to do to make that happen, or communicate with whoever it is to change it. I think that I'm very self-aware. That's probably one of the biggest qualities that I try to make sure I don't lose sight of.
Yeah.
Is being self-aware and checking in. That helps keep me going.
Okay, good. Well, it sounds like, you've got an amazing routine. I love getting up early. And quick question, and then we're going to take a quick break. Are you using some type of sleep tracker when you say you're really getting this, level of quality with your sleep?
I used to wear a Whoop for the longest time, and I literally just got rid of it because every time I'd walk into a meeting, for people that didn't know what it was, I didn't want to announce, like, this is a Whoop. When I walked in, people, they couldn't take their eyes off of it. And I think people just started to think, this might sound silly, like it was, like how people have an ankle bracelet for house arrest. I think people just got so distracted by it, they wouldn't hear me sometimes, so I just stopped wearing it.
Wow, interesting.
But it was showing that I was getting great rest, great recovery,
Whoop seems
great
to
sleep.
be amazing technology.
Oh, it is. No, I absolutely loved it. You can actually wear them on your ankles, so I'm thinking about just starting to do that again because I loved it.
Yeah.
I truly loved it. So I haven't changed anything about my routine, and when I wore it, it told me I was getting great recovery, great sleep. So
the sports scientists, I think, invented it. So good stuff. Hold that thought. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back, and we're going to hear how Ty, he's accomplished a lot of big things already early in his life, and how he really gets through some of the tough times, the challenging times. So stay tuned to thank our sponsor. everybody, welcome back to Moving Mountains. I'm here today with Ty Martin, managing partner of McCann Commercial Real Estate. Ty, so much good stuff. Loved hearing how you stay healthy and tackle burnout. We've talked about building a company and making the 5-year mark and already being multi-state and building an impressive team. But we all like to hear how successful entrepreneurs get through the tough times, right? It's not all peaks. There's definitely some valleys.
Sure. How
do you approach that? Any mountains you haven't made to? Low points, and mental health, mindset. And I know you have an athletic background and coach lacrosse. Maybe that ties in. So tell us.
100%.
Tell us everything. Yeah.
I think that if I didn't play sports, 2020, I would have exited this business. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
Again, focusing primarily in office space, 2020, it looked like we were all never going back to an office ever, right?
Yeah.
For a nice 3 to 4 month run there, I remember sitting every morning and being like, I believe in it. And actually, I should mention, one of my favorite books is called The Secret.
Okay.
Have you ever read that book?
Only know the movie, but is
fantastic.
That the same
I've never seen the movie, but fantastic book. But that book's all about if you truly in here believe something, life takes care of itself.
Right.
All of those things, the law of attraction. But 2020, for me, was definitely a time of looking within myself and saying, okay, what are you good at? What do you believe? What do you truly believe? And really, how are you going to react to what's going on around you? Because at the end of the day, I could have given up right there and just quit.
Yeah.
And I think that if it wasn't for sports and playing lacrosse, and that was a sport that I picked up late when everyone else was already so good at it. I didn't start playing until high school, and I had to put in the extra hours. And there were times in the field where I would mess up, and I just had to stay in it here.
Yeah.
So I think that really did prepare me for 2020.
Okay.
And now that 2020 happened, and there was I think a 9-month run where a deal didn't close. I think now, whenever I have a tough time, and we all go through them, last summer was dry, completely dry. I mean, rates started going up.
Yeah.
Everything got a little bit weird there for a minute in commercial real estate.
Okay.
2020 is now what I look back to and say, all right, well, you made it through that.
Right.
So now you just need to push through, if you made it through that, you can make it through anything. And now you just need to push through another little lull.
Right.
So I think that for me, always just checking back in with another tough time, because I've gotten here somehow, right? That's always how I look backwards to move forward.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's so good. And I know lacrosse is tough. When I was at Rutgers, right, lacrosse players seem to have, it's such a physical sport, and you definitely have a lot of mental and physical toughness together.
I think so, man. I think that sport it's just a combination of a very fast-moving game that also you mentally have to up here understand, like, very much so. They always talk about lacrosse IQ. Funny enough, I mean, our team is almost full stack student athletes. Almost everyone on our team played either college, professional, or at least high school sports.
That's smart, because athletes are coachable.
Totally.
Right?
And the other thing too, they truly understand a team.
Yeah.
You don't have to teach them what it's like to help the guy next to you.
Right.
So I really do love that. Ironically, we have 4 lacrosse players on the team. One is a national champion, All-American professional player now, and does real estate as well. It's really cool to work with people that have also been through tough times in sports, because it helps them in this business.
And hopefully they realize the benefit of team first, right?
Totally.
Because in my opinion, that's the right philosophy. What's for the greater good, and then the individuals will get their accolades if the team wins.
100%. I mean, I think that when one of us does well, the rest of our reaction is what I love seeing more than that person that did well.
Yeah.
Like one of my teammates, Sebastian, who I mentioned, my buddy who lives in North Carolina now, I think that he gets more excited about everyone else closing deals than he will ever get about his own deal.
That's
and
perfect.
it's the coolest thing to see.
That's amazing.
It's awesome.
So tell us about the future. What's the vision for the company? What's the future look like? I think you talked about some of the niches, but is there any more, specialties or specializations you have?
So I think for us, when I think about our company and our business, I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't be sitting in the seat that I'm sitting in. I would have just stayed a broker. I would not have started my own team and joined up with some of the best guys in real estate locally if I didn't want to be one of the biggest companies that transacts commercial real estate.
Yeah.
When I look at us right now and what we've done even in the last couple of years as a new team, our whole team being, I think, our oldest teammates 32. So to be an extremely young team, newer in our career, I think our average years in the business is like 1.5 years. So when I look at that and what we've already accomplished, I don't want to stop until we're planting our flag as top 20 commercial real estate company in the country. And the only reason I say that and not top 3 and top 5 is, at least by the time I'm gone, it would be extremely tough to overtake some of those companies. But if we landed somewhere, in that top 20 or top 15, we would have done things that no one could have ever guessed.
Yeah, and maybe that's just a milestone. I know when you're doing vision work, it's hard to really, put on paper the end, but I like to put milestones just to sort of make me feel a little bit better. So that's cool. Top 20. I mean, how big do you have to be by revenue to hit that mark?
Man. I mean, I would say just by pure metrics, you're talking somewhere in the B's, in the billions, right? Because, teams right now that are doing 200, 300 million are actually dime a dozen in this business.
Okay.
For us, in our second real year as a company to do 40 million, we were extremely excited about.
Yeah.
We should double that this year. And then really after that, it's off to the races.
So when you talk about you being long gone, do you envision being the operator, and are you building something to sell or to have legacy?
Never sell. My partner, Mike McCann, he's a residential realtor. He's been doing this 37 years. He could have sold his team 50 times over.
Yeah.
Never, because the values that he has are so important to him, and we all share those values. So I just feel like to keep that truly what it is, it's got to stay with the people that started it and the people that we grow into the company who really also have those values.
Yeah, so you'll take on partners?
Absolutely. Right now it's me and 2 others, Mike McCann, Jim Onesti. They have their own residential team, but we're also partners in this venture.
Okay.
I would say they are supporting partners in the growth, the operations, things that I didn't really know coming in. I mean, I know how to sell commercial real estate and lease it, but that piece I'm learning every day from these guys.
Yeah.
Whereas with me, I think it's growing the team. They're going to help with the ops. We'll grow from there, and I'm sure more partners are going to come as we grow, and we're completely open to that.
Yeah, and it sounds like your vision is so big that there'll be room for everyone else's vision inside of your vision, which,
Totally.
I've learned is important.
I think for us, we are nothing without everyone else's ideas.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, we reward performance. If people come in and they commit to the company, and I don't just mean performance like closing deals.
Yeah.
If people come in, they commit to the company, and it means as much to them as it means to us, there's room for everyone at the table. And I've said that from the jump.
Okay. So quick hitter favorite podcast. I know you've had your own podcast.
Yeah.
So give us some recommendations, and then if you want to share any snapshot, boil down thoughts for people that want to have the highest levels of success, what that could look like.
Favorite podcast is The Operator by Rob O'Neill.
Okay.
Navy SEAL who shop in Laden. I think a lot of Navy SEAL podcasts are great for mindset. These guys are machines. What I like about him is he truly is down the middle on every issue, talks about both sides, and I'm not even talking about politics so much, just really any scenario. And he really gets you thinking. I love his podcast. And also he just throws in some things about just mindset and like what he went through. And obviously some of his stories are awesome. So it's entertaining, it's thought-provoking, it's definitely inspiring. And so I love that podcast.
Okay, great. Reco, I love it.
And then for me personally, I think anyone that wants to achieve a high level of success, younger people coming out of school, you have to network. You have to network when you don't want to network. I think that's another piece too. Some days you just want to go home, throw sweats on, and I would say the best advice I can give anyone is go sit down at a bar, go sit down, at a coffee shop in the morning, start talking to people. I was actually, just to give a quick aside, I was on a tour of a property today, and I recognized one of the security guards from my first couple of years of my career. He then helped me with some information that's going to help me on another deal, I spoke with Charlie every morning when I came into that office. He was a security guard. But I happened to run into him 5 years later, and he's helping me with, hey, I heard this tenant's moving. Oh, thanks, Charlie. Like, all from just talking to people, network, talk to everyone. I think it's so important. That piece, and then just really stick to something. If you say, hey, this is my year where I'm going to do X, hold yourself accountable to that.
Right.
Right now, for instance, I'm doing 75 hard, and
Okay.
that's something that I failed multiple times. And I'm, 18 days in.
Good for
I'm
you.
not failing this time.
Okay.
I'm not failing this time. I don't
got it.
care what happens.
Okay.
So
I love
those
it.
2 things.
So good. And, I feel like there's a book from 2 local doctors called Wonder Drug, and they're the CEO of Cooper and the president of the physicians. And it's about how serving others is the best medicine for yourself. And they talk about the research on just saying hello to people and all those things. And I feel like we can learn something from everyone. So I approach that, in every interaction. But I think a lot of people miss out on that. They sort of feel, they can't learn from the maintenance man or, the property manager or whoever.
Or anyone. I mean,
Yeah.
I've just on countless occasions sat down at a bar, and I give the bar example because it's easy to strike up conversations there.
Yeah.
So you sit down at any local restaurant's bar, talk to the person next to you, and I could say over the amount of times I can count on my fingers, that's turned into a referral, business, a great conversation, just thought-provoking.
Yeah.
Why not? I could sit there on my phone, but and look at the same stuff I look at all day, answer more emails. I mean, we all have time to answer more emails. I think that when you're around other people, talk to them.
Yeah. Okay. Great advice. How can everyone, find you, follow you? People that need help with commercial real estate. People that it didn't come up today, but I know you have expertise in negotiating.
Yep.
All the people that you can serve and that you can help.
I love chatting with people on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
My reason for that is I think that it kind of gets some of the fluffy questions out of the way. Like, oh, where'd you go to school? Like, we could talk about that, but I think when I connect with people, I'd rather connect with them a little bit deeper. So I love connecting on LinkedIn.
Okay.
You can find me right there. It's just my name, Ty Martin.
Okay.
I'm on Instagram. I'm on really every social media. If you type in Ty Martin Real Estate, I'll pop right up.
Awesome. And how about the company's website?
Yeah, McCann Commercial.
Okay.
If you search it, you'll find it right away.
Awesome. And I think we've got all your social links anyway so Keith and Lori will make sure that that's all hooked up in the show.
Awesome.
So thank you so much for sharing your journey and all your wisdom.
Of course.
Amazing seeing you. We'll have to get back together with Kevin DeLuca.
Have to do it.
Yeah.
Kevin's the super connector. I want him to hear that. That's funny. That's all right. What was that?
Somebody's alarm.
All right, you're good.
The alarms go off when you say Kevin's name.
Yeah, I was good. That was like, we need to get that clip.
Dude, that was amazing.
Dude, we need to get that clip and send that to Kevin.
Totally.
To Kevin.
Shout out to Kevin DeLuca. Woo, woo, woo. Oh my God.
Dude, this is the lighting. I'm just like,
dude, he's just getting organized here. You should see the last studio. But now they're like 90% of the way, back with all, with all the sets, and we'll have to look together at the other part of the building. And you'll have to help him he wants to buy this building, but he's got to negotiate with the landlords.
oh, you're good.
So yeah, you were saying, Kevin DeLuca, and
I think that's really all I was going to say.
yeah.
Is it good? Kevin DeLuca.
Every time we say it, dude, it happens.
Kevin DeLuca? Oh my God, that's hysterical. That's actually, dude, that's so fun. Oh, all right, so listen to this deal.
Yeah.
So this lease. So Falls Church, Virginia is one of the tightest office markets in the entire country. Why? Because there's only 3 trophy buildings in the whole market. And of those 3 trophy buildings, there's only 37,000 square feet available between 3 buildings. Keller Williams' lease is expiring there. I've been on them, I told you, for a couple years. They didn't want to move. They're like, we're just going to renew here. You can work on the renewal. I get an email maybe 3 weeks ago. Hey, we're going to consider a move. I said, guys, if you're considering a move, your lease is up in November. Like, we have to go now.
Ty, thanks for everything, sharing all your wisdom. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and please join us next week for our next episode of Moving Mountains.